All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pleb Underground, the signal without the slop. Happy Friday. Ulrich is joining me for the episode. That's right. We were supposed to have Lawrence Lepard, but unfortunately, last-minute market conditions have forced Lawrence to to make some changes. But it's all
There's
good.
a lot of phone calls, I imagine. So maybe when he comes on the show sometime in the future, hopefully we'll get to hear about those stories.
Yes.
I tell you, I
We're
was
trying,
having phone
guys.
calls with myself yesterday. That's for damn sure.
But it's all good, guys. We are definitely, we're going to get Lawrence on. He's going to talk about the big print. He's going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff that I've been saving up for this this conversation. Every time it passes, it's like there's more stuff to add to it. Yeah, sorry, Z-Logic, no Lawrence today. We got a cancellation this morning, and I'm throwing him under the bus on the show. Anyways, whatever, dude. It's the way it works, man. It's the way it works. When you come from the corporate background, everybody can fit under a bus. That's what you learn. Everybody fits under the bus. Okay. Anyways, but it's okay, guys, because guess what? We have an awesome show, a whole lot of Hopium and a whole lot of Copium and some updates. We're going to take a look at EMPD, the CEO of EMPD. You're like, who the hell is that guy? Yeah, exactly.
That's what I said.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at some interesting, Bitcoin treasury company. We're going to take a look at some interesting comments that he has, some videos that he's been doing. We've got an interesting little clip from James Lavish. He's talking about the OGs are selling, and we've got some more Tom Lee explanations, Mahler's comments, and some Fed moon juice. That's right, Fed moon juice. We're also going to take a look at an update from MicroStrategy, Samourai. Right, nobody's been really talking about William Hill, but William Hill also is being sentenced. Right, the other dev from Samourai. We're going to talk about that. And guys, those Naka numbers, I've got some stuff we're going to take a look at. Ugh. Not looking so good. But anyways, you know the deal. Before we dive into all of that stuff, we are going to give a shout out to the Pleb Underground sponsor. And we're going to be right back to dive into all the fun. Here we go. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. All right. Well, it looks like Frometti is upset over here. He's saying my hairline is done, and indeed, you are correct. I'm in my mid-40s, and yes, genetics have not been kind to my hairline. So, what am I gonna do? Anyways, all right. Let's dive into. We're gonna dive into some of the fun here. You know what? Let's start off with Rick's Christmas Bonanza. Right? Rick is doing a Christmas Bonanza, and it is awesome. We are a part of it, and let's see, where is this? Okay, so, guys, if you don't know about this yet, you should. Rick does this every year. Rick from Cryptocloaks does this every year, and it is awesome. Essentially what it is, and that's right, it's happening in 9 days. So there's a whole bunch, like you could see all these different Bitcoin related companies, right? Anybody that pretty much does anything in Bitcoin, if they want to be a part of it, look, we're a part of it. Yay. Even Cryptocloaks Florida. Anyways, there you go. Look at that. Simply Bitcoin Manor. It's like Proof of Ink. Like this is, it's everybody that does anything in Bitcoin that wants to do a giveaway essentially sends all of this stuff to Rick, and he makes these amazing little packages for the giveaways, guys. The link is in the show notes. Please go take a look. The Christmas Bonanza is worth it. If you want a whole bunch of really cool swag for free, it's a really easy way to do it. You know, it's like you could immediately start your swag pile. And yeah, no, there's no ref link or anything like that. Not selling anything, just saying, check out the Christmas Bonanza. Anyways, okay, moving on to the real stuff. Let's dive into it. Should we? What do you think, Ulrich? Do we? We start
You're
with
the captain of this ship, man.
Yeah, I'm the captain of the ship, but we're having a discussion.
Surprise me.
Right now,
Surprise me.
surprise you. All right. We'll go with the Bitwise CIO.
Okay.
We'll start with him. Let's see what's going on here. Jeff Park, right? You see, this is what happens. We get to the point, right, where even these guys that make stupid comments, you're like, you know what? I'll take this because right now everything is horrible. The macro couldn't be any better for Bitcoin, right? The sentiment couldn't be any worse for Bitcoin. Maybe from people who don't understand Bitcoin. History loves this exact mismatch in due time. Not going to lie. Exactly, Vikingo. We are still alive. Okay. And I even said your line yesterday about staying solvent. As much as I find it annoying, it is entirely accurate. So, but yeah, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I don't, you know,
right? You think he's just shilling the hopium?
You know, I mean, it's the standard, you know, cookie cutter post to somehow get someone else to drop $100 on some sats, which I don't. It helps me, it helps him, it helps his engagement, but it's what he's saying isn't groundbreaking. Yeah, sentiment is bad because, you know, I think it's people of his ilk that have sort of used their marketing prowess to focus on the wrong demographics. I think a long time ago we forgot what Bitcoin was supposed to be, its primary use case, and we've basically been about 2.5, 3 years shilling it as some sort of a corporate combo to overall portfolio. You know, your 5%, your 2%, your 1%, and the little guy. You know, basically the Coca-Cola demographic have sort of missed this cycle because they haven't been approached to understand the importance of Bitcoin for them. And so I'm not surprised sentiment is at an all-time high. The macro we can talk about soon. I think he's right with that regards, but his ilk is mostly to blame for that sentiment, in my opinion. I'm sorry to point fingers, but if we're throwing people under the bus, it's those people it's essentially the suit coiners who are to blame.
I can't disagree. I really can't disagree with that. And we're actually going to show what I believe some evidence that points towards that. You know, I don't know who this guy is, but this comment is kind of interesting. And look, he's got the creds. He's a PhD, right? We love the creds. The creds make people feel good. The second you've got those initials, everybody knows that you are able to memorize information, regurgitate it on command in applicable situations, and this is good. Anyways, for what it's worth, I think max pain is reached the moment we tag either the IBIT cost basis at 84K. Yeah, we kind of sunk through that one today. Or ours cost basis at 73K. Very likely we'll see a final bottom somewhere in between, but these will be fire sale prices akin to a full cycle reset. So you know what? You know what I feel like? The straws. We're grasping at them. We're reaching out, right? We're like, okay, this is giving me a piece of hopium. I'll take it, and this will become my center stage thesis, and I can build all these other things around it that'll help strengthen it. Everybody's guessing. I mean, I'm including myself in this, of course, right? Wait, well, what's Tony saying? We're gonna hit what? 6, 7? The hell, 6, 7?
Oh no! Oh no! What's the meme, guys? Where you put your hand on the guy's shoulders and look into his eye? It's like, how do we tell him? We have to reserve that one for. We're gonna reserve that one for Monday. Everyone, get all the research you can and DM Phil everything you know about 67 or 67, however you want to say it. Let's just say, Phil, even I'm too old for it, but it's the latest and greatest meme. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Eastside Tony would know because his children are probably direct regurgitators of that very meme. Yeah.
I think I heard about this. Okay, but either way, yeah. Send me what you got, and we're definitely going to be covering this. What is this? Hold on, Vikingo's asking a question. You guys think this is a 4-year cycle? We're still going down by January? I mean, look, you know what? I especially at the beginning of the cycle, you know, like I definitely was like, yep, no, the 4-year cycle has not changed, right? None of these pieces have changed. It's just bigger players. I got to be honest, based on what we're seeing at this point, it looks like the 4-year cycle is completely intact. Okay? For real. It does. As painful as that is, it looks like sadly we peaked out in October, which I don't believe. I'm just removing that part of my brain that allows me to believe that. But it's eerily rhyming with previous cycles. So look, my hopium is that this is a fake out and we rip into 2026, like after January, okay, and we start to rip in early spring. That is my hopium. That becomes, let's say, the top, so to speak, for this cycle, and then we do our slow grind. You know, we do our slow grind down for the next 2 years. But again, Bitcoin doesn't trade in a vacuum. Another piece that I've been saying about this is that all of these institutions, right, they're spending billions of dollars building this industry on the retail side, right? The TradFi side, right? They're building all these rails. They're making sure that all these institutions are going to be able to custody your assets, right? They want you to trust them, all that good stuff. They're going to make crypto products, all the stable coin nonsense, all that shit. These guys aren't doing this for nothing. I've said this before, right? Like the banks aren't just going to sit there and do this for nothing, right? They're doing this to take your money. So there's going to be massive, I believe, massive marketing. And we are in the middle of constructing one of the, probably the biggest financial bubble in the history of humanity at this point. So based on that, maybe this time it's different. But I'm not pretending to try to know. I am just a wanderer, like a clueless wanderer that is trying to understand where I am standing. Sorry, Ulrich, that was long.
No, I mean, if I can
show.
rant, you can rant. I would say that, you know,
Bingo.
the when we talk about cycles, you kind of have a center point of the cycle, if you will. A cycle is a shape, or or some sort of periodic wave, and prices move up and down within that periodic wave. And what you see is generally there's of course there's a halving, and then at some point during the cycle we have a peak, and that peak, historically speaking, is within 9 to 15 months after the halving.
Correct.
And so we're past that 15-month time frame. That 15-month time frame would be September at the very end, and the earliest part would have been in April of this year. And so what we have the tariffs. We have the tariffs that kind of bled the market dry, sort of like how we've been bled dry right now with what's been happening in the macro environment. Now, what I could say is that, if we're filled with hopium, if we're bullish and we say this time it's not exactly different, our cycle is essentially stretched out. And so, like Phil says, hey, maybe December and January we start going up. In my opinion, we've already had like a little peak of it in October, and as long as a tariff scare happened, which was about 4 months, we stretched the cycle out to about 4 months, and then maybe we tip down in February. And that's my perspective. And based on the fact that, guess what, the Fed wanted to pause rates, and we'll talk about this later, but the Fed wanted to pause rates, and then yesterday happened, and it's been a Fed rate backflip, to use an old viral term. But it's like, what does that do for Bitcoin? What does the job reports do for Bitcoin? So long answer, because I can rant just like Phil can, but I do think this time is different slightly. But the ETFs also have a part to play in changing the way we look at Bitcoin, the way the world, forget us Bitcoiners, the way the world looks at Bitcoin. And we may not see those blow-offs like we did in the past.
I hate that stupid backflip term.
I had to throw it in.
I know. Obviously I appreciate that you did it, right? But like, it's so freaking cringe. And I still remember
it's 67. Basically 67 is Bitcoin backflip.
Okay. So I mean, like, this is just that marketing campaign for that was just so cringe. It's like people disappearing into their own assholes. Anyways, all right, let's did we even talk about the Hopium here or not?
I know, no, but just like normally we get involved with the audience, and we turn this show into a fully interactive thing. So I love it. But yeah, let's keep the show going.
Here.
Thank you for your comments, Viking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We totally appreciate it. Okay, so here maybe we'll switch gears to, and we'll watch these two videos with the EMPD CEO. Get ready, guys. Kind of weird when you see these guys. They kind of, when they have their tinfoil hat takes. That's the way I see it. You know, he has like this tinfoil hat take, but maybe it's not so tinfoil hat. Let's see.
The banks think Bitcoin is a threat to their business. That's the question. And then you look at some of these different aspects. I recently posted a video how JP Morgan is requiring 95% margin requirement against MSTR. And then you look at JP Morgan building their own blockchain that is essentially going to be centralized. It's going to be their blockchain, which they will control. And then you look at JP Morgan doing loans against Bitcoin. And if you take a loan against your Bitcoin, you know, can JP Morgan rehypothecate that Bitcoin out, and can that Bitcoin be sold and put pressure onto Bitcoin? And are these things intended to break the Bitcoin thesis? Because it's potentially a threat to some of these larger banks. It's a threat to their business. And is that what their objective is with both the increasing margin on MSTR and potentially rehypothecating Bitcoin out so it can put pressure on the Bitcoin price?
Okay, so hold on. Part 2.
I posted a video about the margin requirement at JP Morgan for MSTR. Now, I've learned something even more interesting. There's a customer that was trying to send their MSTR stock out of JP Morgan. So they're trying to transfer that stock from JP Morgan to a different brokerage account. Okay. Now, if you hold stock in a margin account, JP Morgan can hypothecate that stock. They can lend that stock out, or they can use that stock and they can short that stock. Now, this customer wasn't able to send those shares out. JP Morgan didn't have the stock to be able to send out. So that means that JP Morgan doesn't have access to those shares. So they're either short, or they lent out all the stock and they can't get it back, or they can't borrow other stock to be able to deliver out that stock. Now that means that JP Morgan as an institution is short to deliver on those shares. And as a huge institution and only trying to deliver out a small number of shares, that's pretty curious. Like, why does JP Morgan not have access to any shares to be able to deliver out to this customer?
So I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, okay, I mean, it's obvious he is painting JP Morgan as, you know, the, you know, kind of this bad actor, right? Which, I mean, that's no surprise, right? I don't think. But is he suggesting this is moon juice for MSTR? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, is he trying to say that this is moon juice, or is he saying that this is what sinks our battleship? Right? I don't know, man.
I mean, I'll be honest. That second, maybe it's too early in the morning for me on the West Coast. That second video confused the heck out of me.
Right? Like, and the other thing is this, like, and again, this is my ignorance. I've never done anything on margin. And guys, this is the monthly chart of the stock he is the CEO of, EMPD Digital Inc. And we obviously we can see what the pattern looks like. It's a very
old pattern.
Same old pattern, right? It IPO'd and down it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that the rehypothecation theory on Bitcoin in from the first video is obviously a thing. I mean, when you think about it, MicroStrategy is a rehypothecation of Bitcoin, because they buy the Bitcoin and then we buy the shares and we say we own MicroStrategy. And so you have all this money that's claimed. Well, why do you own MicroStrategy? I'm talking for myself, of course. I'm still holding. It's like, why do you own MicroStrategy? Because they have 600,000 Bitcoin, but they own 600. So it's like it's a it's a twofold or multifold claimant on the same base asset. And so when you're loaning, the same thing, if you put your Bitcoin within any custodian, they can promise that they won't do something. But guess what? They take claim on the value of that asset. So what do we call BlackRock? We call them a $10 trillion asset manager, right? Assets under management. So
Correct.
what does assets under management mean? They don't own theoretically any of that, but they get credit for asset. Oh, you manage so many assets, you have to be worth something. They're not worth $10 trillion. They're not 2x of NVIDIA. It's just that they manage all of that money. So it's like anytime you are putting your bearer asset in the hands of someone else, and of course stocks can't be, you have to put it in someone else's hands. That's just the way it is. If you put Bitcoin in someone else's hands, you are enabling rehypothecation just for them able to claim the value of your Bitcoin. So if you want to like stop that game, the only option is to self-custody. And so when we talk about all of these actors that are talking about all these services where you can put your Bitcoin in this place and do the XYZ, it's a form of rehypothecation. So it slows hyper-Bitcoinization because it's multiple people claiming that 21 million turns 21 million to 21 million plus.
And the people profiting off of this are going to tell us all otherwise, right? It's actually contributing to hyper-Bitcoinization, right? This is part of the narrative,
right?
This is part of Bitcoin taking over the TradFi system. Again, that's if you believe that story. I just think it's a cope, because really they're just trying to find for whatever reason, some altruistic reason for enriching themselves. Like, just be like, look, I want to get paid off of this. That's all.
And Z-Logic said this, paper Bitcoin equals inflation in Bitcoin. This is why we must demand proof of reserves, easy to do with BTC. One of the important concepts about that is when you look at cycles in the past, people had very, very few options. You had Bitcoin, you had Litecoin, and you had Ethereum. And even before Ethereum, you had Bitcoin, you had some random cryptos. And it's like, okay, well, I'm buying Bitcoin. Well, what ends up happening is all of that monetary energy gets sucked into these very few mediums. And now fast forward to 2021, of course, you have maybe a couple of miners. You can buy Marathon or Riot. And now you fast forward, now you have several miners, dozens of Bitcoin companies. And so it's like Bitcoin treasury companies. So yes, what's inflation? Inflation of Bitcoin is actually a devaluation, of course, to it against the dollar. If we had, let's just say MicroStrategy was the only Bitcoin treasury company, just like, in 21, right? What ends up happening is you have fewer options to throw yourself at the wrong answer. And if we say Bitcoin is the right answer, then all that energy that you spent hours and working for, and it's like, where am I going to put my $100? Now, I've talked about this to Bitcoin treasury company proponents. They have their whole answer is, well, they can take out loans. So what do they call it? They call it their loans are accretive.
Yes,
so,
the accretive solution.
It's not that accretive nonsense has not done service to anyone for 2025, when we're supposed to have bullish times and when those stocks are supposed to outperform the underlying assets. It's been a big scam.
Yeah. Nobody likes to imagine that their Hopium dealers are, somewhat full of shit. But anyways, I mean, I just unfortunately, right? Like, because I listened to corporate speak for so many years, and I think you can relate to this. You can just spot corporate speak nonsense, okay? And this type of terminology, okay, like the accretive dilution, the flywheel, all of this crap, this is all just corporate drivel. It's all meant to just inspire you to feel good so that you can move to the next step. You can't. It's like you can't lead people down the road unless they want to be led. And the way that most people want to be led is by believing that what they think is correct. Okay. And there you go. You've got these really intelligent people, right? Who've got all the creds, and they're telling you what's going to happen and how great it's going to be. How could they be wrong?
I feel I got another, and this is from your post that we'll probably talk about again on the live show on Monday. But there's a new way to describe the micro strategy that I have. It's called amplified BTC, and it's from another guy with a comma behind his name, Joe Burnett. And again, I don't know the kid. He's 24 years old. He's he's probably he's probably smart, but he's definitely smart enough to utilize big corporate speak in order to get his 100,000 followers to be bullish on whatever products he's selling. So amplified BTC. That's not a Bitcoin treasury company. It's amplified. I mean, it sounds like rehypothecated BTC with a chance that you may go viral off of sentiment and pop up for a moment. And of course you have to sell before everyone else sells, because
what do you mean? Amplified BTC. Look, it's amplifying. I'm going broke at an accelerating rate.
In other words, if you don't sell right at the front end, in other words, if you don't front run the dump, you lose, and it's no longer amplified. It's only amplified for a select few people. I mean, it sounds like sounds like an ICO. Yeah. We've done this in 2017. It just wasn't under the Bitcoin name. It's amazing how marketing terms can change things from good to bad. It's the same ingredients.
Are you suggesting that EOS was a Bitcoin treasury company? I mean,
I'm suggesting that every single ICO was actually the same thing as a Bitcoin treasury company. That's what I'm suggesting.
That's blasphemy.
Blasphemy. Oh yeah,
I know. Such blasphemy. Oh god. Yep. There you go. Just Huddle. That's right. We are still here. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Right here. Okay. Let's continue. We've got some more solid Hopium. You know what? Maybe since we're dumping on the paper Bitcoin trade, let's talk about the paper Bitcoin trade a little bit. How about that? All right, I guess we'll just talk about this one. So, world's most profitable hedge fund, Renaissance Technologies, which, by the way, is essentially run by mathematicians and physicists. All right, so they've got the creds. Okay, they've got the creds, which means believe what they're doing. So they just disclosed holding 225,730 MSTR shares, $46 million. If only they would have waited, they probably could have had 300K shares.
I'll be honest.
They would have been even smarter.
Yeah, right. Like, what is that even? First of all, if that timing, I mean, I'm assuming it's pretty current. I'll just say that
this was from 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'll just say that
they down bad.
It's for the most profitable hedge fund. Doesn't seem like much conviction. I mean, 46 million should be kind of a dropish in the bucketish. It's like, so what? I mean, it seems like you throw out a big number and people, and it's marketing ploys, but for the most part, that's a nothing. That's like, just in case it goes viral, but that's it. And they can dump that just as quickly as they could say that they own it. $46 million for a most profitable hedge fund is nothing.
And to your point, right? This is something that I ended up learning as a painful experience in the markets is institutions. I think I've explained this as well in the past, right? Like institutions have a different timeline than you or I as finite human beings.
Yeah.
As we know, institutions can last many generations, right? In some cases, a few hundred years. Okay. So when we sit there and you see like this institution, right? This hedge fund buys, a whole bunch of MicroStrategy shares. Their timeline isn't the same as yours. And they can also most likely weather a lot more pain than you can as an individual. So what I'm trying to say is when we see these institutions making buys, sure, it's good for us to pay attention to it. However, of course, we shouldn't blindly just follow them into those trades. And the reason I say this is because I was one of those fools right? When I like 20 years ago or 25 years ago, and that was my reasoning. Well, if the most right, if the wealthiest institution is purchasing these shares, they must know something I don't, then therefore I should follow their trades. And very quickly do you learn that this thing about the timelines is very real. And you end up realizing that you are not on the same timeline as a lot of these institutions.
And it's interesting that you say that because, you know, what was the big catchphrase in the Bitcoin space is that I can stay solvent longer than the markets can stay irrational. And really,
Yeah.
you know, I think that was because I was a flip of what the real saying was. But it's like the real saying is so much more, has so much more weight to it, and it's so much more accurate because the market is going to be around a lot longer than you and I are going to be, and the market will be around a lot longer than some institutions will be. All institutions, the market will always be there. And so
Correct.
it's like, what can the market do? The market is not the invisible hand of the market is not, we can understand, is not always right. But it can stay wrong for a lot longer than you and I can suffer its ignorance. So we have to be aware of that. Is MicroStrategy, you know, going to win because they have 600,000 Bitcoin? If they last long enough for the market to be irrational, because guess what, Bitcoin should probably be 500,000 now, right? $500,000, or how many calls have we had for 750, right? Say what?
And this is what he's banking on, right?
That's
like
right.
that's essentially what Saylor is banking on, right? To be able to weather those storms. And I don't disagree with him.
That's
every
right.
single hodler, or I shouldn't say every single hodler, but many hodlers are also banking on this. Okay. But something you end up learning is that if you, hate to say it, broken record, if you don't have money coming in, it is almost guaranteed that you will not be able to secure your assets for a for a good amount of time going into the future. Like that becomes an attack vector.
That's right.
Right? It becomes a place where you have weakness, and you can end up in a situation where you become a forced seller at the worst times, right? So of course, you know, we sit there and we look, oh yeah, you know, he's got $70 billion, you know, and all of the, you know, the bonds coming due in 2028 and blah, blah, blah. Bitcoin can go down to $1 and he won't have to sell his shares. He won't have to sell any Bitcoin. I love all those stories. Okay. They all sound exactly like the stories I've heard before. Okay. Lehman Brothers wasn't going to fail either. Okay. Trillions of dollars under management, gone. Bear Stearns, same thing. I understand it's not Bitcoin, but guess what? The perception was the same. It's not about the assets. It's about the perception. If the overall market doesn't care, right? The individuals don't care about all of your assets. Why do you think you're going to be able to financialize your debt so that you could buy more Bitcoin? Why would you be able to sell more shares if nobody wants them? It's just, anyways, we've just become completely detached from math. But it's okay. Doesn't matter. We always come back to the mean. So anyways.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm not saying that strategy blows up or any of that shit. I'm just saying that, like, this guy knows that he needs real operating income coming in, and he knows that he's playing a game of chicken. Now, he might sit on those interviews and say all the wonderful things, but in the back of his head, that freaking squirrel is thinking about exactly that. How am I going to hang on all those nuts? Okay? Because my tree is rotting. That's a weird analogy. Anyways. Okay, let's move on. We've thoroughly destroyed that topic. You know what? Since we're on this kick, huh? Yeah.
No, it was like your analogy was pretty pretty interesting for 8:30 in the morning for me.
Do they not live in the trees? I'm pretty sure they do. And they, like the cartoons, right? It always shows Dale, Chip and Dale.
We have a bunch of, no, those are chipmunks, but we have a bunch of squirrels in our complex.
You know what? They're just cute rats. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
That is true.
Squirrels, chipmunks, they're just cute rats. Okay. Let's see here. What do we want to do? Some more bullishness, or let's just quickly go over the Samourai updates. For the people that are actually paying attention to this, like us, Samourai wallet developer William Hill sentenced to 4 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release. Okay, so he's really gonna. So is it 4 years in prison and then 3 years of and then 3 years of supervised release? Some people may not remember, but Keone Rodriguez, who was the other head Samourai dev, was sentenced 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of interesting, right? Like, this whole entire situation seems to just be going right under the rug, and I'm kind of disappointed in the bigger Bitcoin media outlets that really could be making a lot of noise about this and could be drawing attention to how important it really is. But unfortunately, all of that stuff has been captured so hard by all kinds of fiat incentives of just clicks and views and the attention economy. Nobody cares about the things that, in this particular case, the thing that really does matter. Like, I don't think everybody realizes how much of a precedent this sets for people writing code. Okay, like, you may not agree with Tornado Cash, you may not agree with Samourai, you may not agree with CoinJoins or Wasabi Wallet, but the reality is that that's part of an open and free market, and the government is doing everything in its power to make sure we don't pay attention to it, and to a certain extent, just let it go under the rug.
Yeah, it
This
almost
like one of those.
Oh, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, just to finish, it almost seems like one of those bills that they try to force through on Christmas Eve. You know what I mean? Like, just don't pay attention to this and let it go. I don't like the precedent it sets. I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, the catch is that even with our current administration, pardoning Ross Ulbricht, it's kind of interesting that this one is not that doesn't set a precedent for what these people are going to jail for. I will say that the attention economy of Bitcoin has devolved into something that packages Bitcoin to be not money for your enemies, or not about property rights or individual sovereignty. Rather, it is theoretically, like, again, the suit coiners say, pristine capital. And so they call it property, but not necessarily property that you're supposed to custody in its most potent way. So property that JP Morgan will hold for you, property that Fidelity will hold for you, and it will go up because only 21 million. And that's pretty much the top of funnel kind of thing, if you will. And they're the attention economy, like you say, is so focused on that that there's no room for the deeper parts of Bitcoin that actually make it worth its attention. When you say, well, why is Bitcoin worth $100,000? We have a lot of people out there arguing about it's a meme token. I see a lot of on LinkedIn meme tokens, and the reason why is because they haven't gotten to why Bitcoin was created in the first place. They just think, oh, it's internet money, magic internet money, with pointless and hapless for a bunch of nerds. And therefore, when things like this happen, it's easy to sweep it under the rug because we have forgotten the foundations.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. And I just want to post a comment here from Z-Logic. That's exactly it, right? It's a database. It's a stock. It's anything but money. Right. Look over here at Teddy Bear. Exactly. I mean, and this is what I said before. It's just pure gaslighting. I mean, this is just, anyways, it is just absolutely nuts. Okay.
And we wonder why we're at 85,000 right now and not 285. If we focused on the why, truly the why Bitcoin and what is Bitcoin, we would have had 69,021. We would have had 169, and we wouldn't be at 85 right now. We would be at 285. and that would be after we had already hit 400,000. Okay.
Mhm.
These types of things, Bitcoin grew at an exponential rate in 2017 because people understood what that meant for the rest of society, for the rest of history. And we lost that once we started taking the bait for quick money, quick attention, corporate washing. It's not good for Bitcoin. And anyone who tells you BlackRock this, BlackRock that, is actually a net negative for Bitcoin. It's not a net positive, it's a net negative. And then people say, well, why? Oh my gosh, we didn't expect this. Yes, you did, because you have accepted a cursory definition of what Bitcoin is. And no one cares about cursory anything. AI is blowing up because it can mean the world changes. People don't think Bitcoin is going to change the world. I wonder why. Because you out there told them so.
Shame on all of us. We should have done better, right? It's like that other guy said. We could have been better salesmen. We could have been better Bitcoin salesmen. But hey, look, the whole bunch of people bending the knee for dollars, right? It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're here to change the system. We're here to dollars. Right? It's like you know the Homer Simpson, or actually,
donuts.
Yeah, exactly. Donuts, but it also makes me think of the Family Guy episode where Peter traps James Woods in a box, and James Woods essentially he gets him to do this by chasing candy. So James is looking, he's walking, he's like, ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Like I swear, literally, like this is like Bitcoiners. It's just sitting there, and like the candy is the hopium from all of these guys, right? Oh, we need
the attention as well. Remember the attention economy as well. The idea that you can reach out, like if oh my gosh, Michael Saylor follows me. Like,
who cares?
Who cares? Like, honestly, like people screenshot a post of Michael Saylor following them, and all of a sudden it's like it looks like those people who worship politicians, like Barack Obama follows me. Barack Obama follows 2 million people. Doesn't make you special. Like, so the fact that a grifting salesman follows you, whoopee-doo, dude. Like, that's not, you can't exchange that at the bank for anything. I'm sorry. Maybe, just maybe you'd be 1,000th in line for the boat parties. But let's just keep it real. Like, let's stop the hero worship. That's caused the inflation in Bitcoin.
I like that. The hero worship has caused the inflation. Maybe I'm going to change the title of this episode.
Maybe. Much better. You may get fewer views.
I like that one. Okay. We're gonna keep moving. Otherwise, this just never ends, and we're gonna have way more news by the time we get to the show, and then we just never get to leave, and then we're stuck here 24/7, like hostages. So we don't want that. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the Fed. No, you know what? We're going to end with the Fed moon juice. Instead, we're going to go take a look at some Naka stuff. Get ready, guys. This is obviously they gave their earnings, but this is nasty stuff. Okay, so look. So just an overview, right? So Kindly MD, right, which is Naka, right, which is David Bailey's vehicle, right? They're going to be combining with BTC Inc. at some point in the future. They reported quarterly losses of 5 cents per share, which missed the analyst consensus estimate of 1 cent by 400%. This is 70.59% increase over losses of 0.17 per share from the same period last year. The company reported quarterly sales of 388K, not 388 million, 388,000. Which missed the analyst consensus estimate of 400K. Okay, it's a 40% decrease over sales of 650K from the same period last year. And the real nasty part of all of this, believe it or not, so while everybody was being hyped, all of these shares and all of this stuff, right? And like this is these companies, accretive dilution. The flywheel, all that crap, right? Just shoving it down your throat. Well, these guys have been getting paid $5.7 million in salaries. So while this company is bleeding out right? Doesn't stop the management and the administration from pulling 5.7 million. Actually, a total, the whole entire thing is closer to $10 million, right? It's actually $10.7 million. And we're supposed to sit here and believe that these people believe in low time preference, fixing the money. I mean, in all fairness, this is just self-enrichment, which again, right? Nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants what they want. They want to be wealthy. This is self-enrichment at the expense, right? At the expense of your shareholders and at the expense of your audience. And you know what? If you really believed in something, right? If a person really believes in something, I truly believe that they put their money where their mouth is, right? Like I truly believe in talking about Bitcoin the way that I do. I believe that it's important not to be paid by exchanges and certain actors so that way messaging can remain my own opinion, right? It can remain my actual opinion. And unfortunately, we're seeing here, right? A lot of these people bent the knee. They bent the knee for dollars. So all this crap about low time preference and Bitcoin changing the world and fixing the money, that was great to be able to get these people to this point where they could monetize and dump their bags. That's the way I see it, you know? And again, I'm not saying that these are, you know, good people and bad people. This is incentives. This is incentives. This is about self-enrichment at the expense of your shareholders and your audience. Hey, everybody's entitled to make their own decisions, but you're not gonna get me to believe in you know, all of this crap like accretive dilution and the flywheel and all this shit while every single person is extracting value faster than they can create it. Sorry, you know, it's like I'm not buying the bullshit, not yet, anyways.
So Z Logic said that predictable fiat behavior, we always had to go through this phase. And you know, this is game theory. This is the game theory that no one talked about. We talk
You just blew this up.
Wait, what is this one about?
Is it your opinion or T Selly's opinion? Because this person knows that everybody on Twitter is T Selly.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
I knew it was another 67 meme essentially. Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. Continue.
Like,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fun. This is what the Pleb Underground you know, live show is about. I love it. I love the engagement. But again, what we have here is a scenario where the game theory that we don't talk about, where people are going to look at Bitcoin and say, how do we leverage this in the near term? You know, how do we it's property. Can we not have people borrow against it? Can we not create a company that's centered around this asset? And it's because one person did it, you kind of have to say, well, can 10 people do it? Can 100 people do it? And even though it was probably a failed use case, MicroStrategy, just by diluting shares just to go buy Bitcoin with marginal operating income, you know, marginal operating income or marginal operating revenue. And then all of a sudden, well, if it's marginal operating revenue, maybe we can create a company that has no operating revenue kindly and just buy Bitcoin. And it has to, like Z-Law just said, if it doesn't happen now, it would happen in the future. And honestly, like, if it's going to happen, maybe it should happen early. So when in 10 years, when people are thinking about it, 15 years, and you know, we don't have any more Bitcoin treasury companies, and it's like, oh, remember 15 years ago we tried that, it doesn't work. Because guess what? Free market, if it's allowable by the law, like, people are going to try it. But if it's proven to be unprofitable, you know, there's no reason to pursue it. So we're going to go through that phase. It's going to hurt, and hopefully we're at the end of it.
That's the Naka monthly chart. Yeah, that's the monthly. This is the weekly. The Naka weekly chart. Oh my god.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, this
look at that. It's below.
Hey, I'll tell you, kindly makes MicroStrategy look like a pristine asset. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
it does.
So it's like
That's for sure.
there are bad treasury companies and there are hideous treasury companies. This is just about the worst one you can get into. Maybe a Coincilium.
Yeah, Coincilium is definitely the worst, by
You
the
know,
way.
and there's some that you probably
That
haven't
thing-
heard of. It's just so this is the worst, and the only reason you've heard
Yeah.
about this one is because it's run by the guy who runs Bitcoin Magazine. Like, if
Yeah.
it wasn't Bitcoin Magazine, it would be a big nothing burger. Like,
Yeah,
when
no
you
big
think
deal.
about, like, it's just, you know, and
Oh,
that's the catch. The treasury companies are all about who's involved in the executive branch. Who was involved in Simlar Scientific? They got Natalie Brunell. What? Oh wow, she's on the board. Was on the board of directors. I didn't know she was like a executive officer level, type of businesswoman. No, of course not. But she has 1 million followers and she has the most important Bitcoin podcast. So guess what they did? Natalie, come on the board of directors, and so you can help. So you could be the face of our Bitcoin treasury company that is absolutely non-discriminate against any other Bitcoin treasury company. I'm investing in because Natalie Brunell is there, or I'm investing in MicroStrategy because Michael Saylor's there. Or guess what? Where's Punter Jeff nowadays? He was at Swan, then he jumps over
punted him.
to they punted, or he punted Swan, one or the other, whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. He went from Swan to wherever he is now. How many times? Guess what? It's you're buying personalities. That's an NFT. That's an NFT. Let's remember what we're buying.
I got to tell you, for me, not that we haven't had 100 red flags along the way for these businesses. However, at the last conference call, the MicroStrategy conference call, for the quarterly call, the fact that they had Bitcoin influencers,
Brunel, Rochard. I'm calling the names out. Punter Jeff. They don't work for MicroStrategy.
Work for MicroStrategy. Like, what are you doing there?
It looked like a variety show from the 70s. Oh wow, look, the Jackson 5 are here.
Yeah.
We gotta watch this.
No. You're down 100%, but look, these guys, and they're sitting there like accretive dilution.
That's when I should have sold. When that's a jump the shark moment.
Yeah.
But guess what? I kept thinking Bitcoin's just going to drag that crap up, but if it doesn't, then gravity's really going to take effect. So
Yeah.
my December timeline is like, at that point, Bitcoin's at least going to be 150. Never thought it would be the opposite direction. Lesson learned, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the old
Naka.
Jackson show, like, where is it?
Oh, yeah.
I would go back and watch like Nick at Night, and like they were on the Flip Wilson show or the Sonny and Cher. I was 10 years old watching. It was like Disneyland for me.
Yeah. Hunter Jeff actually saw one of our episodes and started to comment on it, and he was laughing, right? Because I'm an idiot, right? Like, we're idiots. We're just these stupid plebs that don't know anything. But guess what? I understand basic math. And I understand that you can't believe a freaking stone. Okay. And this guy thought it's like, dude, I may not know shit, but I can fucking spot a scammer. Okay. So that's fine. But when you're trying to blow smoke up people's ass and get them to think of what the possibilities could be when there's absolutely no underlying qualities, you, sir, are selling smoke. That's all.
He's the worst performing Bitcoin treasury executive out there. I mean, he went to the Swan one, the Coincilium. That was almost as bad as Naka, and then he dumps them at the bottom and then goes to join the asset or the Strive or something, and it's like, and what is it?
Another fake company, Strive.
Yeah. But it's like, what's his performance? You have to wonder, like, why would I be hiring this guy where his performance is negative 98% over the course of 12 months? It's like, where is the value? Or maybe he creates ways so that he can enrich. You look at that balance sheet. Hey, this is how we can enrich all of us insiders in a smooth, quick, legal way, at the expense of the shareholders. But that performance outwardly to the shareholders, it looks hideous. But guess what? To the insiders, it's like, hey, we're all making money. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, I know that if, I'm living like I believe in Bitcoin's qualities, and therefore I'm not doing any of these shenanigans. But yet these guys, right, that have supposedly significantly more Bitcoin than the average pleb, they're sitting there trying to monetize as quickly as possible. So what are we missing here, right? Are they all just a bunch of salesmen? Maybe, you know? Anyways, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just good to know it's good. The way I see it, it's, you don't want to be a stranger in a strange land.
You want
right?
to know who you're at the poker table with, because that helps you play the game a little better.
Exactly. Right. You're not playing the game. You're playing the player. It's not Okay. No more strategy. We can't give away all of our tricks. Then everybody's going to be okay with this dip, and then we're not going to be able to buy the dip. So need people afraid.
Only.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm kidding. Okay. Let's keep going here. We've got more stuff. I know we're almost done, even though we've got more stuff. All right, do we do the Fed stuff right now, or maybe we'll go through Tom Lee's? No, you know what? First, we'll watch this little video from Wolf of Wall Street talking with James Lavish.
Wolf of Wall Street. Don't ruin that pristine Capital movie. That is a pristine Capital movie.
It is a good one.
From a few OGs that have sold, and not Larry, but I have heard from few OGs who have sold, and their answer is, I want to be able to exist in the next 2 years without losing sleep and knowing that I've at least secured my family's future. That's it.
For 50 generations. Second generation, they blow it.
I mean, Scott's not actually wrong about that, about the second generation blowing it all. Something that people don't really understand, and I know that it's sometimes really difficult. But if you didn't earn it, you're not going to respect it like you did. And that is the honest to God truth. Indeed, there are obviously exceptions to that rule, where children of wealthy families are brainwashed, threatened, and essentially programmed into carrying on the legacy, most likely against their own desire to be their own human being. Right. But yeah, in most cases, the next generation, will end up blowing it. But the point that I'm trying to make about this one, right? Are they really OGs if they sold to stay good for the next 2 years? Like, how OG can you be?
Why did James say not Larry? Or is he referring to Lawrence Lepard?
Oh yeah, because they're all buddies, right?
I wouldn't consider Lawrence an OG, no. But I mean, if people sold, then they have their. I think they're talking past one another, but I mean, to categorize Lepard or even Lavish as an OG is kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think. Look, the OGs sold. Mostly they sold to the treasury companies. You see some stories here or there. The most recent one, a guy with 11,000 Bitcoin, like his name is out there and everything. I guess instant cash billionaire. Fine. They had one earlier this year as well. Someone who kept on selling like 8,000. It's kind of like kicked off the wavy period when Bitcoin is going up to 115, maybe in like the late winter, early spring. And it's like right around the tariff time. But the catch is like there's also stories that whale accounts are buying up, like a record amount of Bitcoin right now. And actually, I think the narrative is that if you look at the ETFs, which are just absolutely dumping, what I think is that a lot of the weak hands, the tourists are actually getting out, and that the people with real conviction are holding firm. So, but guess what? Of course, there's stories with whales selling. So at the end of the day, it's just people are selling, and it's not one demographic or another, and you can hold firm to one story or another. But let's just say that this is a big macro panic, and that all these people with all their incentives are saying, do I need to get into the strongest asset out there, which is still the dollar, and wait on the sidelines until I see another signal? And the answer is, for many of those people, is yes.
Yeah. I do know anecdotally of one OG that has bought this dip, has started to buy this dip already. Okay. So just for perspective, right? And this is somebody who was here, prior to 2013 even.
Right. That's
and
really the OG range. Like
yeah,
maybe
exactly. For
maybe
me,
14.
yeah, like that's what I'm paying attention to, and it's like, yep, that kind of makes a little more sense. But again, it's anecdotal, right? Like it's just that's my personal experience. Of course, it's it's totally different for
I
everybody
saw
else.
I saw a chart that was describing a chart and a report, two separate things. You can't believe everything on Twitter, but it's describing that whales are actually buying up this capitulation event, if you will. So I mean, of course I'm worried. I was worried and I am still worried. We'll talk about things that make us less worried, but again, this is just, I think it's more so weak transient paper hands than it is people with long-term convictions, or even people with, guess what, 10,000 Bitcoin. If it goes down a little bit, you're still super, super good. And guess what? Maybe you selling 1,000, will take care of you for right now. But no one's saying I'm out. Most people, I don't think, are just out fully.
No. Oh my gosh. And if you are, if you are, you're sitting on the sidelines stressing out and hoping to God that you're right.
Yeah.
Because if you're wrong, it's like, that's it. There you go. That was the generational wealth just right out the
Imagine
window.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are people I could tell. You can tell on Twitter the people that are totally freaking just, they sold out. They thought that 126 is the top. And again, those people, they become moon juice. That's what happens. It just becomes fuel for the moon, because we end up coming back, we roar harder, and then it's like they end up playing catch up, So, okay. Speaking of moon juice, let's just dive into it. Let's just dive right into the Fed stuff, right? Fed official warns of U.S. recession risk after eye-popping layoffs. What about that jobs number, though? Was so good. What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, what did he say?
Well, Christopher Waller, member of the Federal Reserve Board, right, said he would vote for an interest rate cut at the central bank's next meeting in December because of clear signs that the U.S. economy was significantly slowing compared to last year. So here we go. This is the meat and potatoes. U.S. job cuts so far in 2025 have surged by 65% compared to last year, and October's total was the highest for that month since 2003. That's crazy. Major layoffs at the end of October included Amazon, which we know, which sacked 14,000 workers, Paramount, which cut 1,000 staff, and retailer Target, which slashed its headcount by 1,800. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Now,
right?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, just to finish it up, right? Such announcements are anecdotes and may not be fully reflected, at least in initial unemployment claims, but the numbers are eye-popping. So to me, this means that maybe we do get our interest rate cuts. I give you higher unemployment, you give me interest rate cuts. So
that's essentially how it is. And
I mean, it's the meme, right? It's the guy, right? With the long hair, and he's got the two hands out, it's anyways.
The trade.
Everything is memes.
Yeah, no, that's essentially what it is. I think that's what it's sad to say, but as Bitcoiners, we kind of, again, Bitcoin being somewhat captured, we'll say Bitcoin's not captured. Bitcoin, the priced asset, how we price it is captured. And it's essentially captured, at least right now in this season, by the Fed interest rates and a bunch of other macro things. But right now, these governors, Waller in particular, is, for all Bitcoiners, honestly, is your friend because this guy wants to reduce rates as much as possible because he is keyed in on the jobs reports. Whereas Jerome Powell, the chair, is not your friend because he's saying that inflation is not yet down to 3%, and we really need to focus on that. So again, the Fed, two roles: to control inflation and to maintain jobs. But all the different Fed voters, the 12 of them, there are 19 governors and there are 12 voting. They all have different. They're all humans and have their different perspectives and incentives. Right now, I mean, I got to the point where I'm Fed watching, and 5 of them.
Oh yes.
5 of them are essentially very, very heavy on the jobs report. It's like we can't have all these layoffs. We can't have people out on the streets collecting unemployment. We have to have companies enabled to borrow money so that they can provide jobs for people. But then you have about 3 of them, Jerome Powell and 2 of his minions, that are like, no, inflation. We don't care, literally do not care about jobs. And we want to keep rates paused at the very least so we can work inflation down. Now, it's funny because what makes it so bad is that we had the government shut down. And now, and over the last few days, we found out that we aren't going to get October's report at all. September's report was delayed, and November's report will be abbreviated, I think. And so what you end up happening, say what?
This is bad.
Yeah. And so what you have, and also the Fed is very empirical. They don't want to take, and that's why what Waller said back there in that last point is important. Can you bring that slide up again?
Oh yeah.
What did it say? It said anecdotal. And so it's not absolute based on what the reports are from the normal job report. It's just, you hear about Amazon, you hear about Paramount, you hear about Target. And so you have to wonder, is the Fed going to take these anecdotal reports and say, you know what, the jobs market is not good. We're going to go ahead and throw people a bone, especially during the Christmas time, and we're going to try to keep the jobs flowing so people can have something hopeful to look for, so they can actually want to have confidence spending money. Right now, the crazy thing about it, what happened yesterday, is that there was a 30% chance of the rates going down and a 70% chance of them pausing, just because of what Jerome Powell said with the inflation and how the job reports weren't coming out. That's what dipped it down. But after yesterday, which had nothing to do with the jobs, it all had to do with the S&P going down over like 5% over the last week. All of a sudden, that turned into a 70% chance of a rate reduction. And guess what's not priced in the market right now? The rate reduction. And all that means that we could get a surprise pump once it's more certain, maybe towards 85 or 95% certain. Once we're certain that we get that rate reduction, I think Bitcoin will be recovering as much as I think we may even see a 10% pump in one day. So like that's the bullish thing that I think we should key in on. If people aren't used, the Fed, blah, blah, blah. Watch Governor Waller and his influence with the other Fed officials. There are about 4 of them that kind of follow what Waller says. And he may end up being our next Fed chair. So it's very interesting. And Bitcoin is tied to that type of stuff. It's also tied to the Treasury General account. It's also tied to overall liquidity in the market, which is indirectly tied to the Treasury General account. I talked a lot about this in my last 2 videos, so you guys make sure you check out Down with the Underground. But that's why I kind of have, have hope, because Bitcoin's a part of this overall macro environment, and they're not going to let us fall into a recession. It's not, the boomers aren't ready yet, man.
No, they aren't. That is exactly right. They are not. And here, we're just going to we're going to take a look at this video here from Jack Mahler's, probably one of the best Hopium salesmen out there.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Although when
it's a
people ask
beautiful
him,
way to.
Sorry?
I was about to say, although when people ask him direct questions, it's his shield you start to see chinks in the armor. But like when will his company actually merge with CEP? He's dodgy with that.
Well, I mean, according to the filings, it's going to happen either, I think it's December 1st or December 3rd.
That will also coincide with a quantitative tightening ending. So again, more bullishness. Interesting stuff. If you're selling at 80,000, I'm sorry guys, you lost.
This is not the move. Like, selling into this pain is not the move.
No.
Like, this is not the. Anyways, let's see what he had to say.
Express that best form of humanity as well. Bitcoin will be around far longer than we will, and it's far bigger than any of us. And it's understanding that level of interconnectivity with the human story that makes us all Bitcoiners. And slowly but surely, people are realizing that. Like, Bitcoin doesn't need Donald Trump. Donald Trump needed Bitcoin to win that election.
Big time.
And Wall Street, Bitcoin doesn't need Wall Street. Wall Street is producing the most popular ETF of all time. These banks on Wall Street are having their best years of all time because of Bitcoin. So it's this really gradual process that you're better off on its team and realizing that you are a small part that could benefit from it, and you're not the main character. And that'll take time because these people have really big egos, but we'll get there.
He's absolutely right. Bitcoin is not about you, right? It's not about me. It's not about any of that stuff. And I actually really appreciate that he said this. And I think he is absolutely right. And right now, because Wall Street has such a capture on media and the media networks, they make it seem as though Bitcoin thrives by their will. Okay, we'll say. And that is just complete and utter nonsense. That is the beauty of Bitcoin actually having the censorship resistant qualities that it has, right? The fact that it's a transparent ledger, the fact that there's no central issuing authority, it doesn't matter what these guys think. But what the thing is that they need to make the average person believe that it's about them, right? It's about us taking this asset and making it viable for you, the little peon. It's like, that's what it's about. And it's like, no, guys, it's not about you. And Jack, I have to say, he is absolutely right. It is them that need Bitcoin. And if you pay attention to the way that empires rise and fall, then you understand that we are at the point where our monetary strength is, we are coasting on reputational fumes. Okay. This is where we are in the process. So make no mistake, Wall Street desperately needs Bitcoin. And we need Bitcoin. So, and that's been my framing. And this is where, once you actually accept it and understand it, this is where humility can begin to creep in. And that's where you can start to, at least in my eyes, I was able to begin thinking more accurately about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Good bullish stuff.
Yeah, it is. I will say, this season has shown that Wall Street can hurt Bitcoin for a moment. And I think that if we, Michael Saylor has said some things in the past that's quite interesting. And I forget I don't know if this is his quote, but he said, volatility is vitality. And essentially, like, hey, we know that something's awake because of how volatile it is, and he used the example of athletes and their performance, where they have a standard level performance, but the great athletes, the professional athletes, can say, like, LeBron James can just score 50 points in a game. But guess what? His average is 20 something, right? But the greatness, you see that's a volatility. That's a shoot up. Wow, it's like that spike. He's not doing it all the time, but it shows how much potential they have. And if you don't have any volatility, you're dead. It's funny that Wall Street has taken a little bit, at least for the moment, of volatility out of Bitcoin. That's why we've seen these sideways crabs that have kind of materialized since the ETFs have come in. Yeah, maybe we had a little bit in 23, but we were actually up 100% from the beginning to the end of 23. But once that ETF came out, guess what? We had side crab 50 to 70 for like 9 months. Then the president got elected, and we went from 60 to 90. And then what did we have? 25, sideways crab. The funny thing about Bitcoin right now, it seems like it's breaking out of its sideways crab a little bit. You see the tariffs, even though it dipped to 74, but it went up to 126, right? And then now we have this new macro shock, if you will. The Treasury, the TGA is expanding. You go from 126 down to 85, 80,000. I think Bitcoin is trying to shake off the temporary shackles of corporate finance, and we're going to see another shoot up past 126. I think we're going to get to a good 150 in a near term, maybe in the winter, maybe in the spring, like Phil said. And then we're going to have to reset. And then the ETF is going to no longer be a thing. And it's going to be there, but it's going to be just passe, and Bitcoin's going to get back to its volatile actions. And I think the following cycle we're going to see, or the following time frame, we're going to see some real good stuff. But the ETFs, it hampered us for a moment. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. And curious Bitcoin base takes over here going on. Self-custody is the only way to success to bypass the control. It is absolutely true. The more and more we take self-custody of Bitcoin, the less and less Bitcoin these institutions can play shenanigans with. And it's just, yeah. Essentially right now we're doing this experiment. We're going to find out everything that doesn't work. Okay. And this is what often happens, right? Like in the beginning, we find out everything that doesn't work, right? But we already know what does work. We already know that Bitcoin works. So right now, this is just a matter of these traditional, these TradFi systems. And it's kind of funny, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but it's the bed of Procrustes, right? They're taking Bitcoin, and it doesn't quite fit in the box. So they're just cutting off the pieces that don't quite fit so that they could stuff it in the box. And then that way they can make it more palatable to their customers.
And I'll say this, just like
palatable.
Just like Z-Logic said, and proof of reserves may be an acceptable second. Guess what?
Agreed.
If you don't have self-custody and you're investing in a company that says they have Bitcoin, don't we see 10Ks? Don't we see 8Ks? Show us a stack, bro. If that's an addition, maybe it's a 12K, maybe maybe it's a 21K, and they say, hey, this is where we show you, this is the Bitcoin that we claim to have. This is the address. Hey, we ain't lying to you. And guess what that gives you? An advantage between identical zombie companies. It's like, well, this one shows us they got proof in the pudding.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Oh, there was one last thing. Before we wrap up. Yesterday there was a bunch of FUD going around about Naka that they sold like 583 Bitcoin, which obviously would not be very surprising. But that's not actually what ended up happening. It's that Bitcoin was actually committed to some investments that they were doing. And again, right, I totally understand the framing. It's just like they're moving some of their Bitcoin from one entity to another. And, it could be seen as the quote unquote treasury, the treasury Ponzi. However, I just wanted to dispel that. It's not that they actually sold it. It's that Bitcoin was already committed to those businesses that they were going to fund. So either way, just it's shenanigans. It is definitely shenanigans, guys. Speaking of shenanigans, it's the weekend. Well, almost. It's almost the weekend. So for some people, it already is the weekend. Go have fun, be safe, all that good stuff. And as you guys know, Monday night, 8 p.m., we're going to have the round table, and we've got a whole lot of freaking drama for the round table. This is going to be fun. Definitely going to be fun. You guys are going to want to tune in. And of course, if you want to be part of the conversation, you just join the chat, and, we can all talk together, and we can all cope and hope together. Anyways, Ulrich, any final thoughts?
Brilliant show as always. Make sure you guys check us out on Monday. Make sure you check out Down with the Underground. Just had a video released a couple days ago, and I'll see you all soon.
Absolutely. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a great weekend.